What if the USSR had been the first to land a man on the moon? On July 20th, 1969, history marked a pivotal moment when Neil Armstrong became the first human to step onto the lunar surface. But imagine an alternate reality, one where Soviet cosmonaut Alexei Leonov was the one to take that historic step instead. In this timeline, the world would have woken up to the broadcast of a triumphant Soviet Union planting their flag on the moon, a powerful symbol of scientific achievement. The iconic words, "One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind," may have never been spoken. Instead, Leonov might have declared, "For the glory of the Soviet people, we claim the moon." Such an event would have undoubtedly shifted global perceptions, reinforcing the USSR's dominance in the space race and altering the course of geopolitical competition. A Soviet victory on the moon would have sent shockwaves through the Western world. The United States, already facing social and political upheaval in the late 1960s, would have faced a significant psychological setback. For much of the post-war era, the space race symbolized far more than scientific progress. It represented technological superiority and national pride. A Soviet triumph would have been seen as evidence that communism, with its emphasis on centralized planning and collective effort, was capable of achieving remarkable success. The USSR's victory would have been heavily celebrated in global media, presenting socialism as a system capable of pushing humanity toward a new frontier. The term Red Moon may have entered the cultural lexicon, a powerful symbol of Soviet progress. In developing nations seeking guidance in their own political paths, this achievement could have strengthened communist influence. Nations in Asia, Africa, and South America may have been more inclined to adopt socialist policies, seeing the USSR as a model of technological advancement and stability. Faced with the USSR's achievement, the United States would have been compelled to respond decisively. President Nixon or his successor would likely have announced an ambitious new scientific initiative, a renewed push to surpass Soviet achievements. NASA, determined to reclaim its standing, may have refocused on advanced space missions such as Mars exploration, deep space probes, and orbiting space stations. The military-industrial complex could have accelerated funding for aerospace research, driving technological advancements at an unprecedented pace. Meanwhile, the USSR's leadership would have seen its lunar victory as a symbol of strength, encouraging Moscow to expand its influence on global science and politics. The moon might have become a focal point for continued competition, as both superpowers sought to establish permanent lunar research stations. The moon's symbolic value wouldn't have been the only point of interest. In this alternate reality, there's a possibility that geopolitical tension could have escalated into competition over control of lunar resources. The USSR may have pursued the development of a lunar base, a combination of research facility and strategic outpost. This red base could have been used for scientific experiments, communication advancements, or resource exploration. In response, the United States may have established its own lunar station, transforming the moon into a stage for Cold War posturing. While these developments might have raised concerns about militarization, the outcome could also have resulted in accelerated scientific progress, as both sides pushed technological boundaries. A Soviet victory in the space race would have dramatically enhanced the USSR's reputation in science and engineering. The Soviet Union's achievements, from launching the first artificial satellite, Sputnik, to sending the first human into space, Yuri Gagarin, would have been further amplified by this lunar success. Technological advancements in computing, robotics, and communication systems would likely have flourished. Countries that had previously relied on Western technology may have shifted their alliances, favoring Soviet systems instead. In response, the United States might have accelerated innovation in key industries. Silicon Valley, already emerging as a hub for technological advancement, could have grown even faster as America worked to close the gap. In our reality, the moon landing became a symbol of individual ingenuity, freedom, and Western values. But in this alternate timeline, the USSR's success would have shifted global narratives. Soviet-inspired art, literature, and cinema may have gained international prominence, promoting themes of collective achievement and unity. Schools and universities worldwide may have focused more on Soviet engineering principles, reinforcing the idea that centralized scientific planning was key to human progress. However, creativity and cultural diversity would likely have persisted across the world, with global artists continuing to tell unique and varied stories. A Soviet moon landing would have strengthened communist movements across the world. Countries facing internal conflicts between democratic and socialist ideologies may have leaned further toward Moscow's influence, seeing the USSR's technological progress as a sign of political strength. Nations like Cuba, North Korea, and East Germany may have experienced renewed economic confidence, while pro-Soviet ideologies could have gained traction in developing nations. However, Western democracies would have adapted as well. The United States, rather than retreating, may have intensified investments in science, education, and international diplomacy to counterbalance Soviet influence. With the USSR controlling the moon, the United States may have shifted its focus to Mars. Determined to reclaim global leadership, NASA may have fast-tracked spacecraft designs capable of reaching the Red Planet. The Soviets, seeking to maintain their advantage, may have followed suit. The late 20th century could have been defined by an intense Mars race, pushing technological innovation even further. In this reality, humanity's first steps on Mars might have taken place decades earlier, driven by the ambition of both superpowers. Despite its technological achievements, the USSR's internal economic and political challenges may still have persisted. Bureaucratic inefficiencies, economic stagnation, and social unrest could have weakened the Soviet Union over time. However, a successful moon landing might have encouraged Soviet leaders to accelerate economic reforms and technological innovation. Perhaps this alternate reality would have seen a stronger, more stable USSR entering the 21st century as a leading superpower. Alternatively, the symbolic victory of the moon landing may have masked deeper issues, leaving the USSR vulnerable to eventual decline. If the USSR had been the first to land a man on the moon, the world would undoubtedly look different. The Cold War's dynamic may have shifted, with scientific achievements becoming the primary battleground for ideological influence. Yet one thing would remain constant: humanity's drive to explore. Whether through Soviet engineering or American ingenuity, mankind's journey beyond Earth would have continued, driven by curiosity, courage, and the desire to uncover the mysteries of the universe. In the end, the true legacy of the moon landing, no matter who claimed it first, would always symbolize humanity's relentless pursuit of discovery.